Well, good morning to all of you. I'm glad I'm standing here in front of you this morning because the last few days I was seriously thinking about not showing up here. Why? What was the main problem? I didn't have a clear-cut message to you guys. My story will be perfectly suitable for an American kind of sky is the limit, everything is possible episode. However, that is not my view of the world anymore. Nobody is right, neither am I. However, I'm sharing you my personal story, not as a truth, but as a personal experience, as something for you to think about. My story will be about confusion and lost illusions, and about Syria. First of all, you must be wondering what this backpack is doing on my back. I filled it with pillows, don't worry, it's not heavy, but I'm a traveler. I spent a year in South Korea studying in university. After that, I got the idea of traveling back to the Netherlands over land. That means I traveled about 20,000 kilometers by train and ferries and buses and hitchhiking and you name it. And finally, I came in Turkey, but my final destination was Aleppo in Syria. Syria, indeed, the country with the famous numbers of 100,000 people that have been killed, 2 million refugees, and countless of other problems. That Syria was my final destination. Me? My name is Wijbe, and according to some people, I did the impossible. First of all, about the backpack. I was traveling, and I came in Turkey, in the Turkish city of Antakya. And it was here that I met a Syrian guy called Ali. Ali came from Aleppo. He used to work there in the old city. However, the revolution broke out, and in the end, war came, also in Aleppo. So one day, he and his family decided they had to leave. They had to run for the safety of Turkey. And the day they did, something tragically happened. The day they were escaping, a grenade shell came down, killed his son instantly. Now that is irony in its most tragic sense. For me as a backpacker, I believe the world was at my feet. I could go wherever I wanted to go. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I could be whoever I wanted to be. But for a guy like Ali, the world, and especially his son, his oldest son, seemed to be mostly beneath his feet. And it's experiences like those that make you feel much more connected to something that normally is kind of distant and something you only hear about from newspapers and media. And all of a sudden, when something gets close to you, you start seeing and feeling what it does to people. And so did I. I started looking for some news about Syria, and I discovered that very close to where I was, there was a refugee camp inside Syrian territory. And the article said something like, there's not even enough blankets for the upcoming winter. I thought like, that sucks. And then I spoke to a war tourist, a Dutch war tourist. He told me, oh, Wijbe, I was in this border crossing. You can just cross it by showing your passport. I was like, wait a second. That doesn't match. I mean, in such a simple place, apparently, you can just show your passport. They don't have blankets. How can that be? I don't have the answer. I still don't have. But I decided I would do something about that. So I settled in Kilis, a small border town, close to the Syrian border from Turkey. Not knowing I would be staying there for 9 months, I took out my debit card. I withdrew 700 euros from the ATM. I bought 100 blankets. I made some Syrian friends. Together we drove to Aleppo, and we distributed 100 blankets in person to Syrian families that were displaced and in need. Simple as can be. This was my very first experience in Warzone, and it was unreal. Yes, bombs did fall, and yes, bullets did whistle overhead. According to some Dutch journalist, I was, and I quote, reckless and stupid and unwise. Bam. But in spite of all the critics, I felt I was doing something right. I felt I was doing something that didn't even cross anybody else's mind before. And now that I had the connections to run this show, it would be such a waste to just keep traveling and giving up on the 8 potential I was imagining. So I decided this project had to be continued. I got somebody to make me a web page. I found some media stations to tell my story. I raised 130,000 euros. And after 9 months, me and my Syrian friends, we delivered 600 blankets and about 80 tons of top quality food in person to Syrian people that were in need. The reason I'm here is not so much to speak about how to run an aid project, because I'm guessing most of you, maybe not all of you, will never do that. The only way we can possibly relate might be about motivations. We had enough of attention about Syria. It doesn't help much if I'm standing here speaking about Syria again. We had attention for Syria for 2 years, and nothing on the ground changed for people in Syria. And me speaking here isn't going to change anything either. So let's speak about motivations. For me, this project was mostly about 2 things. I wanted to bring help, and I wanted to bring hope. Help, simple. Food, blankets, bam. Hope, simple as well. Hope for Syrian civilians. Hope that they would realize that we as a world have not forgotten about them. That we as a world do care about them. Hope for them that we as a world will not just leave them there to die. And to be honest, I'm not sure of many things in life, but I am sure of one thing, and that is that my project was the single most efficient and effective aid project run in Syria. I'm just saying. I don't care what you think. But the question I was wondering is, if a guy like me, who didn't even graduate yet, who was just traveling, if a guy like me can do something like that, then where is the rest of the world? So, my mission got broader. I wanted not just to do something, I wanted to change something. I wanted to show the world that it is perfectly possible to bring help to Aleppo, that it is perfectly possible to do this in a very efficient way, and that it is perfectly possible to do this in a very simple and straightforward way. I was hoping to show the international community and NGOs that this exact same thing. I was hoping they would feel insulted, not to hurt them, but to make them trigger, to trigger them to change for the good of all of us. In general, I was hoping to improve the world. Not just by doing something, not just by giving away something, but by showing an example that could be followed by the rest of us. However, I guess I was wrong about very many of these ideas and motives. When I came back to the Netherlands about 6 weeks ago, maybe 8, I started questioning my achievements. Somebody asked me a very black question once, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. He asked me, Wijbe, what you're doing is all very nice, but isn't it just stretching the lives of Syrian civilians until they will be killed anyway? Now, that's a cynical question, and I don't believe this was the case. But still, I'm not sure, and that is the scary thing. Okay, but let's cut it down to some simple questions. Did I help Syrian civilians? Well, yes, obviously. Did I save a few Syrian civilians? Perhaps. I hope so. But then, did I save Syria? No, of course I didn't. Did I at least give some kind of contribution towards Syria's future? And again, I think, no, I didn't. But then you might be asking me, Wijbe, you just told me about the example you wanted to show. How about that? Well, let me give you an example. Some months ago on Twitter, I saw a tweet of some chairwoman of a big Dutch NGO. And she was complaining about, oh, we try, but it's so hard to bring help to Syria, blah, 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 blah. So I replied on that tweet, and I told her, well, listen, here's the link to my YouTube video. Just have a look there, and you will see me wandering around in Aleppo, handing away food boxes left and right. What do you mean difficult? And she replied something like, it's impossible to help in the big enough scale and to those that are very needy with correct supervision. I mean, I beg your pardon. Me and my Syrian friends just delivered 80 tons and 600 blankets to Syria. under the most extreme supervision you can imagine. Why are you telling me this? It seemed like my idea wasn't getting through to the international community. Or maybe they just didn't care, I don't know. Anyway, I wasn't achieving my objective of changing their policies and their practices. So yes, once I came back to Netherlands, many things in life didn't seem to make much sense anymore. For years and years, I had worried about the world and about poverty and about war. I studied human geography because I wanted to save Africa. I spent 9 months in Syria because I wanted to give a contribution and show an example that could be followed and improve or change the world. However, looking at it now, I didn't save Syria. Did I contribute towards Syria's future? Again, I think no. I did not teach the NGOs a lesson. They did not change their policies. I did not change the world. I did not improve the world. And I realized all of a sudden I never would, simply because the world is not in favor of it. Realizing that many things you did were in fact for nothing, now that does feel like a big failure. And if anything in life, I hate failing. So I ended up in a rather depressed mood, and I remember myself sitting in front of my home a couple of weeks ago. And I heard the rumbling noise of a train passing by. And without even realizing, this idea popped up in my mind, like, why shouldn't I just stand on the railway tracks right now and let the train hit me and take me to some better place? Now that's what I was thinking. So as I told you in my introduction, I don't know what my message today is going to be. The only thing I can give you is my story. My story of how I wanted to change the world and of how I was extremely motivated to do so. However, I feel like I failed. I learned my lessons. I learned to appreciate many things. I learned to appreciate what I do have. I want to finish my university again, no matter how difficult my first college day was last week. I want to care again about the people I love. I just want to live a normal life again. That's what I want. So anyway, that's my backpack. I will keep traveling life. I'm not going to stand on those railway tracks. I've got plenty of miles to go, and I'm going to take the luggage with me. But I learned my lesson. The sky is not the limit. I travel over land with both feet on the ground. That's what I did, and that's what I should keep doing. And my luggage, I will drag it with me.